Hello, I just want to do this quick reaction video to the JoJo news. As I record this, I am headed out to dinner soon, but I don't have the fancy setup. I just had seen this conversation going on all over the place and even had a couple people from my audience want me to weigh in on it, so I figured I would do that, especially because I don't think we're going to be able to do Hotline League next week, as I talked about on this past week's Hotline League. So what is the deal here? Well, you can go take a look at Dom's video. Congrats to Dom on getting the story. I think some people try to pit personalities against each other, and I had not heard that C9 was going to be trying to drop JoJo from their team at all. I had heard that there was maybe something changes that were going to go on around Blabber and JoJo, but I had not heard anything definite. You can even take a look at the interview that I did with Blabber after their loss, where he's like, "Oh, I hope that we learn." I hope that fans root for me, is what he said. I hope fans root for me. And then he paused and was like, I had also C9. So I think a lot of people had some expectation that there might be changes coming to C9. While I would be surprised to see JoJo still playing next year, I have heard that the situation might get a little bit more complicated because I've heard that JoJo's camp of folks are contesting the severity of the alleged tardiness and misbehavior. And why is that relevant? Well, in covering this stuff for 13 years now, I've seen that the vast majority of the time when a player is going to be dropped, the team and the player just part ways. There's maybe like a thank you so-and-so, and you don't normally hear about a lot of drama. But this time we're hearing about the drama preemptively. And I suspect that is because, well, if you take a look at the global contract database, JoJo is still on the database. And so Riot has not recognized the end of this contract yet. And maybe that player will end up off the contract database in the coming days, and we will all go, okay, I guess it's all resolved and it's done. But I do think that things could get kind of complicated because as JoJo's camp is contesting this stuff, supposedly behind the scenes, this is what I've heard, that might mean that actually he is not in breach of contract, and we might end up in a situation where it becomes he said, she said, and there has to be some sort of resolution to this stuff. I certainly feel as though, and this is my opinion, but if you were looking to get a player off of your team, your roster, and they had a contract that made it difficult to do that immediately, you would look for reasons why that would be the case. And maybe he was tardy as much as they were saying, but if you're tracking all this stuff, this is your sort of, hey, this is our cause for ending this contract, for getting out of it. Caveat, I'm not a lawyer, obviously, but I could see things getting complicated if C9 says, hey, we're terminating your agreement because you failed in these ways. And the JoJo crew says, no, he didn't. And C9 goes to Riot and says, hey, we terminated this agreement because of these reasons. And JoJo's group says they can't because he's not in violation of that. And then Riot has to figure out what the hell to do. So I don't know what will end up happening if all of that is the case. If we end up in a situation where it does become he said, she said, and all, I don't know if Riot has to figure this stuff out, or if they're going to take their cue from some sort of legal situation. Maybe there's some sort of arbitration, I don't know, lawsuit. Who knows what ends up coming of all this stuff? But it gets complicated when one party is alleging that somebody is in breach of contract and the other party disagrees with that. So we're going to have to see how all of that stuff goes. I'm going to now just put on my hey, let's talk about the implications for offseason if this does get complicated hat. Well, all the teams have much greater budgets, and I think C9 is particularly incentivized to get JoJo out of their budget as fast as possible. I believe it is likely that teams, based off what I've been hearing, will be getting less money from Riot next year. Remember, Riot's using this time to renegotiate their contracts with all the different teams, and we might be in a different meta next year in terms of how this stuff all works. And so I'm sure every team would like to figure out what their exact budgets are ASAP. And if you have a complicated financial situation with JoJo, who I think many people suspect to be the highest paid player in the league, the ramifications on your ability to go grab talent or sign talent or whatever could become difficult. Now, a lot of this stuff is me just sort of interpreting what could happen next and all that stuff, so I'm not trying to get everybody riled up yet. But I just want to say, like, as we're all rushing out to react to all this stuff, because I think my initial impulse was like, oh man, that sucks. Like, JoJo's supposed to be like a great player or whatever. I think it might be worth waiting a little bit to see how all of this sorts out, and also how the contract stuff goes down. Because, again, if he's off the contract database tomorrow, then all right, we're done. But if it takes much longer than that, things could be getting complicated. Is guess what I would say. Anyway, what do you all think? I'm sure we'll get more reporting on this from other media, from Dom, myself, whoever hears more, and I'm sure we'll continue to have these conversations. I expect that there's a good chance that this could end up being day one of a multi-week-long thing. Maybe I'll be proven wrong, but we'll see what happens. If you enjoyed this video and you're interested in more off-season coverage or Worlds coverage, because guess what? Worlds is coming up. Please subscribe to the channel. You can also become a member. It's a great way to support. I don't have a sponsor for this video. I just like doing these videos because I care about the LCS and I like creating content for all of you. And I wanted to be able to react to this, especially since some people were asking for my opinion on all of it. So there we go. Thanks.